Hi there. Thank you for tuning in to Chewing on Pearls. We wanted to provide a quick disclaimer before you listen to this episode that we recorded it before the announcement and release of Harlequin, Gaga's solo album that she released as a companion to the film Joker Folie à Deux. It's important that we note this because even though the material in this episode covers something from Gaga's past artistic output, we were not able to tie in what's going on with Harlequin at the time we recorded. So we thought we'd provide a note about that. But enjoy this episode and pause up.
The music and the performance and the fashion are one. I don't separate my art from my life. It is one whole thing.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Tom.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Patrick.
And this is Chewing on Pearls, the show where we dissect and decipher Lady Gaga's chameleonic career and its impact one pearl at a time. So, we're back. We're back, and today we're going to be talking about the Manifesto of Little Monsters, which is a text.
A formative text.
Written by Lady Gaga. Apparently first released in the Fame Monster Super Deluxe inside the booklet as written text, and then later created into a film with the text as a voiceover that was used as an interlude during the Monster Ball tour. And so before we get into it, we're going to actually insert the audio into the episode so that everyone can know exactly what we're talking about. This is surprisingly niche, I think, to the general public.
Yeah.
This is some fan thing.
But it feels like a good time to talk about it.
Absolutely. In where we are in like Gaga's career, but also like where we are in this show, I think it's super pertinent. So without further ado, the Manifesto of Little Monsters.
This is the Manifesto of Little Monsters. There's something heroic about the way my fans operate their cameras, so precisely, so intricately, and so proudly, like kings writing the history of their people. It's their prolific nature that both creates and procures what will later be perceived as the kingdom. So, the real truth about Lady Gaga fans, my little monsters, lies in this sentiment. They are the kings. They are the queens. They write the history of the kingdom. And I am something of a devoted jester. It is in the theory of perception that we have established our bond, or the lie, I should say, for which we kill. We are nothing without our image, without our projection, without the spiritual hologram of who we perceive ourselves to be, or rather to become, in the future. When you're lonely, I'll be lonely too. And this is the fame. Love and Art, 12/18, 1974, Lady Gaga.
So
yeah.
chew on that.
Chew on that. Thanks for listening.
Bye. So
yeah.
we heard the manifesto. Though this is a podcast, I'll give you a brief kind of visual synopsis.
Yeah.
Interlude shot by Nick Knight and Ruth Hogman, black and white, featuring a series of masks and fetish wear.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of things that kind of obstruct and conceal Gaga's face, mouth, eyes. Blonde, straight blonde hair.
Smoking.
Cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
Very raw.
Mm-hmm. Straightforward. Yeah.
Raw.
You can imagine them making this. She's
not
in the
highly
studio.
edited.
Yeah. She's in the studio. She puts on different things. She poses. And then we get this voiceover over it.
Right. Extremely effective.
Extremely effective.
Even if you've never heard this, you may have seen one of these images of her.
Totally, like a GIF on Tumblr, something
yeah.
online somewhere. If you haven't seen it, Google it. It's on YouTube. I think the visual is an important part of how this is delivered, especially given what she gets into about the theory of perception. Like you said, she's concealing herself in this short. So it's so hard to discuss this. There's so much here, but...
Well, I think we can start by the reason we're talking about it now is, you know, we are gearing up for a new Lady Gaga project that fans have been speculating feels like a return to this kind of imagery, but also kind of sense of self.
Yeah.
It feels like Gaga is re-entering the realm of like conduit.
Yeah, the self-awareness of her fame and her like being as like a placeholder, like a conduit, like you're saying, like for the fans.
Yeah.
And their like desires and like dreams.
And we're on the
fears.
Other end. Like this is early when Gaga is devoting herself to us. And now, you know, she's been through the ringer a bit.
The fans have put her
there, and she's had to set boundaries and, you know, but the essence and the ethos is still present.
Totally.
And it feels like because of the spoken word used in the Chromatica Ball tour and how that is potentially linked to the creation of LG7 in that world, it feels like the right time to re-examine this historical text.
Yeah, I mean, just to, before we dive in, to like link that further, the, you know, spoken word sonnet from the Chromatica Ball does an original sonnet by Miss Gaga, which we'll get into in another episode. It does mention a king and a court, and there is some of that like imagery and verbiage used in this interlude or in this manifesto, talking about like using the image of like a court with a jester and kings and queens as sort of like an analogy for the performance of fame. So I do think that there is something that's kind of like coming back here, like you're saying.
Interesting that Gaga's about to portray one of the most iconic jesters.
And appeared on the cover of Vogue looking clowny, you know?
Yeah.
Just feels connected somehow. I like want to read this, even though we just played it, but I guess she starts by talking about cameras and that the way that her fans use their cameras so intricately, so proudly, so methodically is like kings writing the history of their people. I guess that's like kind of the whole thing with like being a fan in these times. Like when did this was like what, 2010? Like,
yeah, I think the first time it played was 2009.
Yeah. And like the desire to like have an image on your device as though it would like, I don't know, this idea of like it lasting forever and like capturing her personally in this way.
Right. And the technology that we had then is not what we have now.
Right.
Where, you know, it really was about being precise and like capturing that moment because you didn't have the burst of 20 million. You had your flip phone. Like,
yeah. And like social
BlackBerry.
media was different. You know, like now if you go to a concert and you want to keep your phone in your pocket, that's cool because a million other people you can like mine the like Chicago date of your favorite artist show for like better videos and pictures. Like it doesn't, everyone still takes a photo or a video at a concert, but I feel like then she was at the peak of like expectation. People were like, what is she going to wear? What is she going to look like?
Yeah,
what is she going to do? I need to have a photo
was part of it. Yeah.
of her in this way. And I want to be the person to get it. And I don't know that culture is the same. I think it's changed slightly. We don't have to get into that, but she's talking about that capturing.
Yes, and it's also she's acknowledging that like the fans are creating her legacy. Like the things that we are capturing and the things that we are deeming important to remember are the things that she's going to use to further create and build this world.
It's their prolific nature that both creates and procures what will later be perceived as the kingdom. And it's literally what you just said is the world building of Lady Gaga's entire project, if you want to call it that, or like her entire like artistic entity has been upheld by people like us who heard things like this and were like, this is how we still understand our relationship to Gaga, I think.
Right. And I don't know if you're just like a casual fan, you understand that this kind of relationship between like fan and artist has been so integral to the work that she's like made.
Totally.
From the jump.
Yeah. Knowing that so many fans feel the way that we do about her and about the relationship that she has with her fans, and is like kind of still hanging on to that like first 5-6 years of her career where it was really powerful and potent and strong. It's interesting to speculate where she might stand with it. And so we do take these hints and these cues, like the sonnet from the Chromatica Ball and certain things that she's done on social media lately, to say like, oh, she still views the relationship this way, because we have been for all this time. But because she's more withholding, it's like fun to sort of pick apart the ways that it feels like she still feels this way.
Right. It's like she's an A-list mega celebrity now, but she was not when she was sitting in this studio writing this earnest declaration, this manifesto of her family, her little monsters, her children.
Yeah. I mean, like 2 years into the big game, essentially, of the pop music industry, and somehow so articulately aware of what fame is and does.
And how her relationship to her fans, like, she is not the first pop star.
No.
She is not the first, like, person that people have been obsessed with and thrown themselves at, but she acknowledged the fans in a way that didn't feel like, oh, this is what I'm guaranteed.
Right.
Like, these people are devoting themselves to me, and I'm not taking that for granted.
Right. And she goes on to say in this manifesto, the truth about Lady Gaga fans lies in the sentiment. They are the kings, they are the queens, they write the history of the kingdom, while I am something of a devoted jester, which is placing herself below the fans in this way. Not to use that kind of language, but what I mean is, to go off what you were just saying, is she's placing herself in this position to say, this is all for you. Like, I am performing for your gaze and for your approval and for your uplifting of me. But ultimately, that is the reason that I create. I'm not like showing up on a high horse so that you can like worship me necessarily, but I'm here to like provide a conduit, as you said earlier, for you to express your like joy, freedom, fear, dream, which is kind of like the role of a jester, right? Which is funny because then tying it back to the Chromatica Ball, that is kind of the first time she showed up in a tour setting and was very like, I am a legend and you are watching me perform. And it felt like somehow she's both the queen and the jester. And I think that's where we're at now.
And I think that's why when we were at the Chromatica Ball and the sonnet played, we were so gagged because it was evocative of this and this kind of, and even the way that she's performing it in the video. Like, I think what's interesting about this interlude is like, yes, the manifesto is very serious and certain, but the imagery is silly.
Yeah.
She's dancing.
Yeah.
She's puffing this cigarette with a gimp mask on. She's wearing sunglasses over a latex mask.
Totally.
Like,
they were like playing.
Yes.
When they made
so
it.
There's this kind of like play and joy and like just creating to create.
Yeah.
As like, again, a conduit. Like, you know, she understood that like her fans were tapping into the shape-shifting, the darkness like of kind of this time.
Totally.
And like the Fame Monster and the Monster Ball tour. And you know, she, though self-serious, is still able to bring levity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like, I always think about like the contrast there.
Yeah. I think that's like a huge theme in her career as well. And like, and her relationship to the fans, where it can be so serious and so not serious, you know? And I think that's the key to kind of debunking the pretension that some people have like projected onto her, is that she's self-serious, but it's not without, you know, taking the piss out of it as well.
Right. It is in the theory of perception that we have established our bond, or the lie, I should say, for which we kill.
So
Bitch,
melodramatic.
What?
I'm like, this is where it like turns a little bit. And
right.
It's like, what?
Into this kind of silly, like, for which we kill.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels very like 24-year-old artist. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and I love that about it. Like, it's like, she's like, I should add something about killing in here.
Yeah,
like,
she was like, I like, and she knew that the feelings were so intense, and like it wasn't that we would kill for her, necessarily. It's like to put yourself in a position of risk to maintain the feeling that this kind of relationship provides.
Yeah. It's in the theory of perception that we have established our bond. I guess that's just sort of true of like any kind of relationship.
The bond, which she calls a lie.
Yeah.
Because it is not like, we do not know this woman.
And I think so many fans don't get that part of it.
Right.
Like, we feel like we know her, but we know that we don't.
Right.
Like, as a person. And if anything, our Venice and Vogue episode, talking about that Vogue interview and like her understanding and kind of just being real about how performance has always been a part of it for her, and that like her truest self isn't something that everyone has access to.
And again, her doubling down. I don't know if you saw that, the Bill Gates show that she's on, that little interview where she's like, the performance is the truth.
Yeah, totally. Like, not to toot our own horns, we both like are on the same page about understanding the truth in the artifice, but then also the artifice and the artifice.
Right.
And I think a lot of fans have hung upon every word she's ever said, everything she's ever done as like this expression of a person, like a real person. And it's like, I'm not saying she's fake or whatever, but it's like, no, she's an artist. She's like making for the sake of art, for the sake of fame, for the sake of her fans. Like, there's a lot of different layers and motives behind everything that she's done. And to like, I don't know, to sort of ignore the fact that her performance is indeed a performance is to like not understand her art.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of why it's important that she calls it a lie in this.
We are nothing without our image, without our projection, without the spiritual hologram of who we perceive ourselves to be, or rather to become in the future.
Yeah. Damn.
In 2009.
Yeah.
So before everything, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just makes me think about when she uses the word projection. We've talked about this at length. Lady Gaga as this like mirror, and perhaps like the jester as like a mirror, as like a, surface on which we see ourselves. And like, I feel like sort of that's what she's getting at, is like, I will continue to shapeshift, and you will continue to like see yourself in that shaping. But it's like, as I am, so are you. And like, we are like growing and developing together, and my art is a response to your love. Your love is a response to my art. Like, it's this like symbiotic thing that doesn't really, it's kind of amorphous, but I really love thinking about her as this mirror and her awareness that she is, and like the power in that.
Without the spiritual hologram of who we perceive ourselves to be, I think that right there is she understands that like what people see in of themselves in her isn't necessarily what is on the surface of or being presented by those people.
Yeah.
Like she understands that like spiritually, like you resonate with me because I am tapping into something that you either crave or know to
something
be true.
That's buried. Yeah.
Something that's buried, something that you're afraid of, something that, you know, and she understands that like, yeah, I mean, we can like poke fun and be like, oh my God, like, oh God, the Lady Gaga gay, like that
totally
archetype, but like we are that person. We love that person.
Yeah, totally.
And she sees that person and knows that person.
It's like saying, if you are hearing this or reading this, I want you to know that I know that you see yourself in me, or some piece of who I am is like speaking to some piece of you. And whether that's entirely who you are or a piece of you that you don't even know exists, it's there. And like, that's the conduit of it all. And it also kind of speaks to like the ethos of Born This Way, like this idea of the hologram of who we perceive ourselves to be, or rather to become in the future. I do think about that Born This Way theory around constant rebirth of yourself in this kind of like life-saving, life-affirming way that has like nothing to do at a certain point with like identity politics and more to do with like
self-preservation.
Yeah. And I think fame, you know, through this manifesto, fame for her is like a self-preservation technique, and the consumption of her art is her fans' self-preservation technique, and like a way for them to like experience their own rebirth by watching her reinvention. You know what I mean?
And the fact that she acknowledges that it's isolating.
Totally.
When you're lonely, I'll be lonely too. And this is the fame.
Yeah.
That feeling is the fame.
Fuck. I've like picked this apart in my head so many times. Like there's so many ways. There's like the esoteric spiritual way to understand this. There's like the literal way of like, when I'm not on stage, I'm totally alone. And when I'm not on stage for you, you feel alone. Like us being in this space together, especially because this was played at the tour, is like what the opposite of loneliness feels like. And that when we aren't like sharing in the love of like art and performance and music, what is there? And I do
and
feel
the fact
like
that she knows that like some little gay is like watching this YouTube video and is alone and isolated by their circumstances, or, you know, how they feel.
Just an understanding of that symbiosis. Like I said, like what's implied here, when you're lonely, I'll be lonely too, is when you're strong, I'll be strong too. When you're happy, I'll be happy too. Like there's so many other pieces of that. It speaks to all of these different feelings of like, she understands that Lady Gaga is made up by her fans, essentially. Right. Like without a fan base, she would be an artist, but she wouldn't be Lady Gaga as we know her. You know what I mean? Like just as much as she's made herself, her fans have made her into what revered, you know, notorious being that she has become.
And then she gets personal. Love and Art, 12/18/1974. Joanne. So that's kind of her acknowledging her own spiritual connection to this person that, you know, she's never met, but shares a namesake and knows is a writer and an artist and a poet. And, you know, this is her way of connecting to that legacy in her own family.
So that is the date that her Aunt Joanne died. And for a minute around this time, but then also in the Joanne era, like talking about like kind of like a vague touching on an idea of like reincarnation perhaps, or just like feeling that her father's lost sister lives on in her, through her name, but then also just like knowing that she was an artist who like couldn't complete her art and like lost her hands, I believe, due to her illness and couldn't make art, and like her obligation to continue that legacy.
And that's why like when Joanne, the album happened, there was criticism that was like, oh, this feels like it's supposed to be this like personal, authentic album, but it feels highly impersonal. But the seeds have been since the fame in that album booklet.
Yeah, like, I think that's why some fans, some deep fans like us, felt disappointed, was because of the way that Joanne, her Aunt Joanne, was alluded to in these like meaningful moments. And then when the album title Joanne was announced, I think people were like, oh, like this is like going to be really spiritual, really deep, really like tapping into something. And I think it does in moments, but largely skims the surface of that lore in her life.
Right. By trying to be kind of, again, we see the flip side of like when that projection doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah.
You know, like Joanne being like the family album, like about family relationships and dynamics. And it's like, yeah, sure. But it's more effective when it's on a personal level, when you see yourself and not necessarily your entire lineage represented. Because I don't think my dad would sit down and feel the same way about.
Right.
Like, you know.
So yeah, the Manifesto of Little Monsters. What are some key takeaways here? There's so many.
Well, so many. But I think that, again, why we're talking about it now and why it feels kind of relevant is that she is kind of positioning herself for like the next installment of what it means to be a little monster. And, you know, there are like the fan theories that this album is like Mother Monster or like a self-titled. And I think it's like, we obviously know this, but the general public doesn't necessarily think of. I remember being perceived as a Lady Gaga fan and like all the baggage that came with it around this time. Now it's like, I don't feel that necessarily in the same way. And I think that she's about to remind us that like, nah, we're still like the little freaky deakies.
Like renew the relationship in a way. It would be fascinating. I feel like she's explored so many different aspects of that fan relationship, the nature of fame throughout her work, and for LG7 to like perhaps explore like another side of that, or to sort of summarize it, or even if the music doesn't, just to like use that this time as a way of like kind of just like renewing her mother card.
Yeah. And it makes me excited that when she has talked about LG7 very briefly, like directly, she's like, I can't wait to give it to the fans. I can't wait for them to hear it, which makes me think that she knows that like this is like the life source, like this relationship.
I feel like she's used the word monsters a little bit more frequently. She's also done the monster paw again. So I think a lot of people are like, what is coming? And I mean, we can't talk about the Manifesto of Little Monsters without talking a little bit about the Manifesto of Mother Monster, which came at the beginning of the Born This Way music video. And I can only hope that we get another kind of manifesto.
We love Gaga the poet.
Yes. Oh, of course. Like when she writes something, I'm like, you're a genius. I mean, she writes music all the time, but like,
but it's different. It's different.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I'm wondering where her self-perception lies right now in terms of all of this, like the gesture of it all, the performance of it all. I think the Vogue article let us in a little bit, but I'm wondering how it will manifest more tangibly.
I am intrigued too. There was that cryptic post that I'm ready for my interview.
I know. What could that mean?
So it's like, is that press for Joker, or just is she ready to talk in general?
Yeah. It's simultaneously, I love when she's more withholding, and I love when she's like saying it all, bullshit and everything. Like I'm interested to see how she operates going forward, because of how kind of not tight-lipped, but chill she's been at like the Venice Film Festival, at the Chromatica Ball film premiere, like just pretty direct.
I'm like, is the LG7 lead single music video gonna have a full monologue voiceover? Like,
it better.
It feels like it.
It's always important to take note when an artist provides like supplemental material. And so Chromatica had its music videos, it had some visuals treatment and all that stuff, but the tour added these interludes and that sonnet that really gave additional context to like where she was coming from when creating that work, but then also wanting to perform it. And I think, or I hope, that LG7 beyond the music, beyond like the music videos, has more supplemental material that allow us to sort of like do what we love to do, which is chew on pearls and like piece things together, as fans already are with some of the interludes from the Chromatica Ball and trying to tie them to what she's doing now. Like it's fun when there's more. And this kind of thing, this kind of a manifesto, some poetry, would be really fun to get from her as another piece of the puzzle. Yeah, so I guess that's the Manifesto of Little Monsters. I feel like there's so much more to say.
I know,
I'm like stuck in my head right now.
I know, me too.
It's also important that we did this now because we're going to have to talk about this in the future. Like now we have this to refer to.
Yeah.
Remember that moment when we were talking about the Manifesto of Little Monsters and we were both like, there's so much more to say. Because this is going to connect to so much more that we talk about, I feel like, on the show going forward.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Chewing on Pearls.
Yeah, thank you.
And happy pre-LG7 lead single. I guess maybe the next time that we reconvene, we might have a new tune to dissect.
Would be crazy. Bye.
Pause up.
Please let you